What if you could work less, stress less, and still grow wealth that outlives you? Today, I'm sitting with Dr. Latifat, a GI doc turned money coach who shows women physicians how to buy back their time through investing and not just grinding. From busting the debt free equals freedom myth to taking a full year off of medicine without losing income, she is pulling back the curtain. Stay tuned because this episode might just change the way that you see your paycheck forever. Dr. Latifat, you are a GI doc who became the money coach for women physicians. What was that moment when you said, enough is enough with medicine's financial narrative?
To be honest with you, it wasn't one moment. The moment really was me kicking and screaming and say, I don't want to, literally. And the
Mm.
reason why was I was a GI doctor, successful GI doctor, really living my best life. I was working point 0.8 FTE, taking care of patients. I was happy. I had our real estate portfolio. I have 3 kids, my husband, and I was good. I did not have a problem that needed to be solved by adding other people's baggage to my problems. Like that's what I thought. But then early in the pandemic, like really, really early in the pandemic, what I found was that physicians, healthcare professionals were being really afraid of their income because what was happening in the hospital
Mm.
behind the scenes was no one knew what was going to happen to the revenues of the hospital. So they were
Yes.
literally dropping healthcare professionals like the Titanic, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
doctors, nurses, pharmacists were scared about their income.
Yes.
And even physicians that were earning more than I was were scared about what was going to happen. But I had zero fear about what was going to happen to me financially because I knew how to do money. And literally was at that time that I was like, I guess I have no choice. I have to teach people because you don't have the secrets to freedom that can help people be well and hoard it. And so I literally rolled my eyes, kicking and screaming, and agreed that, okay, I guess I'm going to be teaching women physicians how to accomplish the freedom and make sure that they're not stuck to their clinical income by understanding how to take what they were earning and
Mm.
trade it into freedom.
Mm. I love that. So you have written about it, two Amazon bestsellers, Done with Broke and The Power to Choose. What would you say are the biggest myths about physicians and money you find yourself having to bust every single week?
You know, one thing that I think of is that the public has their own misconceptions about our income, right? They have their misconception, and part of it is because in general, culture does a bad job of teaching us about money. And
Mm,
as physicians, we're taught how to earn money from our job or with
mm,
our clinical skills from one place. See
mm,
patients, you earn money. Do procedures, you earn money. But what do you actually do to turn that money into growth is something that no one teaches us about. So some of the misconceptions that I find is I earn multiple six figures. I shouldn't feel tight
mm,
because that's not something that happens automatically. Like it's like a bike. A bike goes downhill. That's the law of nature. And if
mhm,
you're earning money, the natural phenomenon is that you will end up spending more if you don't learn how to turn your income into like see your income as a seed and turn it into something that grows for you. So that's the number one
mm,
misconception. The other misconception that I see that really frustrates me is what I call misconception when it comes to debt. So many
mm,
physicians think that, okay, if I have no debt, I am
mhm.
good.
Yeah,
If I am like being debt free is the ultimate freedom. And I'm like,
yeah.
no, actually, being debt free is not the ultimate freedom. Investing is the ultimate freedom. So there are times when people come in and the only focus is, I just want to be debt free. And I'm like, what is that going to do for you? So we talk about
Mm,
what that is going to do for them. And then we create what they thought being debt free was going to create for them. And yes, my clients, many of them come and actually pay off their debt faster without us focusing on the debt because
mhm,
them to have a strategy. They put a plan in place, they automate the plan, right? And then they get to the more important part, which is investing. So one of my
mm,
goals is really let's get physicians investing because investment, in my opinion, is what actually creates freedom, not all those other things like, oh, budgeting or just paying off the debt only, even though that's important. But you don't need traditional budgeting. You don't need to have zero debt. In fact, when I started my journey, I did not know anything about money personally, actually. Like,
Mm.
I knew zero about money. That's why I get physicians, because I am them. I was them, right?
Mhm.
I had the physician job. I was earning the good income, but what do you
Mhm.
do with that? I had no idea. And I had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt.
Mhm.
I couldn't ask for help. I hired a financial advisor because that's what adults do. That's what I thought. Until I found out that the advisor was actually not making decisions that were in line with my own freedom, but more in line with their freedom. And I'm like, okay, this is where out, right? And so I had to learn, like, what is a budget? I hate budgeting, but how
Mhm.
a spending plan? How do I tell my money where to go? How do I invest? Oh my goodness, I don't know what a 401k is. All right, maybe I don't need to memorize it, but what's more important is that I actually do it. So I started making moves, and all of those moves led to me paying off my student debt within 2.5 years. And then by the time my student loans were gone, I was like, okay, now we have no debt, but we still are stuck to my clinical income. And that's when I'm like, okay, I need to look more into investing, simple, boring, through the stock market, through real estate. And it's crazy that, I mean, I think this has literally been less than 10 years that I'm talking about. Between that
Mhm.
and now, to be in a place where I practice medicine 7 days a month, because I do love medicine. My family and I, a couple of years ago, we were able to travel around the world for a year. And so, one of the things I just like for physicians to know is, number one, it doesn't take a long time. Number two is, if I can do it with not knowing anything 10 years ago and being where I am today, you can do it faster, because now you have help and support potentially if you want it. And
Mm.
we have to learn to invest.
Okay, so I love this so much because I hear you redefining quite a bit of our mindsets around the word wealth, budgeting, and so on and so forth. Can we talk about Dave Ramsey for a moment? Because I jumped on that train hard and fast to my detriment, dare I say. But nevertheless, he's definitely someone who there's a time and a place for Dave Ramsey. What are some of your thoughts around Dave Ramsey and the debt-free snowball?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say that Dave Ramsey has done a lot for average America. And without the stuff that he's taught people, I think more people would be in trouble.
Yeah.
More average Americans would be in trouble. And it works for certain people. I just don't think it works great for physicians that are,
Mhm.
number one, getting into the game late, because we
Yeah.
don't earn until our 30s, but we also end up coming in with like averagely higher debt. The other reason why I respect Dave Ramsey is I'm a respecter of humans. I have to say that, if you see, I respect him as a businessman, in the sense
Yeah.
that when you see someone that has been around for like 20 something years, 30 years or whatever, and
Talking about the same thing. We were just
talking
talking about
about
that,
the
right?
same thing, and still not bored. But also, just like weathering all the economic stress as a business owner, you have to be humble and learn certain things. Like, don't throw
Yeah.
the baby out with the bathwater. But I do have
Mhm.
to say that the whole debt will kill you thoughts, I don't
Yeah.
think it's helpful for
Yeah.
the people that I serve, because many of our people are like high achievers. They already
Yeah.
have shame, they already feel guilty. And
Yeah.
then when we're like, your debt should keep you up at night, it's like, we ain't gonna sleep until we're like 45.
Yeah.
We already were not sleeping anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that it is the best for most women physicians that are earning multiple six
Mhm.
figures, that already judge themselves, that are already hard on themselves. I think there's a
Mm.
kinder way to go around it. I believe in having a debt payment plan, and it's one of the things that I teach my members.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say have a debt payment plan, have a date that you're going to pay it off in future, is so we can get to what actually liberates you, which is not
Mm.
being debt free. It is owning assets that produce income.
Where were you when I was going through the debt snowball? Because I kid you not, I was literally working myself to the bone. My husband and I, between the two of us at one time, we had 5 jobs between the two of us. It was complete madness. And it was completely unnecessary because had we shifted our focus from just grinding it out and exchanging more hours for dollars, because there are only so many hours in a day, and deploying all of that extra capital into an investment early on, I gotta tell you, the burnout would not have jumped on us so quickly. And so let me ask you this. We often talk about redefining wealth. Can we talk about it in the context of burnout? Break down how do we shift from that white coat grind to real wealth?
Absolutely. And I love that you asked me that question because it is hard to serve physicians optimally if you don't understand the culture in which they exist.
Mm,
And so, if you're talking about money and wealth and investment to physicians, it has to be in the context of the life and the culture we live in, which is high burnout,
mm,
high suicide,
yeah.
high relational stress leading to divorce. And
Yes.
so when you're telling physicians to grind, people that already grind at baseline to grind harder, you literally may be shortening their lifespan, right?
Yeah.
And so I will say that when I first started doing money, I focused only on money. And inside of our programs that we offer, we have different programs and some of them focus on money. But what
Yeah.
I found is that we have to make that conversation broader to not just
Mm,
create money, but to create well physicians that are wealthy. And
yes.
one of the things that I love experiencing, even in my women when they join our community, is sometimes they come in stressed, like I gotta grind, 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 grind.
Yeah.
And typically,
That's default, right?
default. But typically within like 3 months of joining our program, I look out for something. Their energy changes. There is more ease,
Mm,
there is more content, there is more, I
mm,
don't need this to be alive or well. And that's where magic happens. That opening up your ability to think, ability to open
mm,
doors, it just literally opens the door to abundance. So wealth has to be in the context of our burnout. And one of the things that you and I were talking about is I teach women physicians about what I call the 10 arms of wealth. And
yes.
the reason why I came about it is that I realized, and I'm such an observer of people. I love reading, I love learning. I believe success leaves clues. So I may not talk much, but I will sit back and watch and observe because I'm looking for the
Mm,
minimum viable framework, function, resources that will be the smallest things, the smallest potent things that will create results for my members. And so I literally sat down and I said, okay, I know there's a kind of wealth that my women don't want. My women don't want the kind of wealth that makes them burn out. They already work like 80 hours a week. They don't want the kind of wealth that's going to make them work 120 hours per week. They
yeah.
don't want to like have chronic illnesses. They don't
No.
want to commit suicide. They don't want to have to choose between money and being having successful relationships, marriages. Many of them are first generational wealth builders, so
Yeah.
having generational wealth is important to them. But
Yeah.
also, many of them have been confused to think that debt or having no debt is the definition of having wealth or not. So the arms of wealth
Mhm.
that I've created, and I'll share some of them for your audience in case it's helpful.
Yeah.
So one of them is
Please.
personal finance and network
Mhm.
growth, which is a lot of what people talk about when it comes to money and wealth. And that part is important. Okay. I separate that from debt freedom. And I'm very, very intentional to say it's debt freedom, not debt free, because you could have debt,
Mm.
freedom from debt, the burdening that keeps you up at night, the tachycardia that makes you say yes to every extra additional call that exists, or makes
Yes.
you say yes to things that are not in line with your ethics and your moral, which is part of
Mm.
what burnout is. Part of burnout is when we're being asked to do stupid things that you know that you don't want to do, but you're afraid of losing your paycheck. And you do it, your soul dies a little bit. So I separate debt freedom, and I'm very, very intentional. It does not mean you're debt free. I separate those. But then there's also things like play and fun. And I actually tell my women the more fun you have, the more play, the more money you're going to have. It is the more. So my women have hobbies. They dance, they take trips, they hang out with family, they play, they have lunch dates, like because that is part of wealth. Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about
Yeah.
freedom, which is important. I personally believe no physician should be working full time
Mm.
unless it's for a specific reason. Absolutely. Because when
Ex
you over
wait, hold on. For the people in the back, I'm gonna need you to say that one more time. Excuse me?
I believe no physician should be working full time unless there's a specific reason where you're like, for
Mhm.
example, on our call yesterday, one of our members who joined us like a little over a year ago, it's her second year with us. When she joined, she owns her own practice, successful practice. And part of the coaching that I it took me like a month to get her to the point of being able to block out half a day off every week for herself.
Amazing.
Now she takes one day off every week. She doesn't
Amazing.
work like one day off every week. She's like, they don't need me. Nothing's changed. Income hasn't changed. Our patients are happy. My kids are good. But one of the things she wants to do is she wants to buy a short term rental outside of the country. So now it's like
Amazing.
she's choosing to work on Mondays, on the day she normally would have off, for a specific reason to get the money that she wants to go use to live her best life on her STR. That's the
So it's got a timeline, right? It's not like a sentence, a 20-year sentence.
onus,
Amazing.
and it's by choice.
By choice.
It's very different. So
You
try
work, you move different when when you feel like you have options and you're not working a sentence, essentially.
take care of your patients differently, and our
Yes.
patients know. I
Mm,
promise you, this is not a brag. I'm very grateful that I love medicine. I'm grateful that I love being a GI doctor. I was top doc locally multiple years in a row. I have patients tell me that it's different. And I
mhm,
believe that part of it is because I practice in medicine by choice, right? And there's something
mm,
amazing when you, as a physician, can look at your patient and go, you know what? I got nothing to gain here. I'm just
mhm.
what I would tell my family member. Like patients can tell. So all of this actually helps you be a more effective doctor, in my opinion, so that the joy of medicine can now return back to you. So yes, it's about money, but you can see how wealth is all embodied. And again,
Yeah.
the people that I work with, they're not just here to have money only, but they're here to have money en masse. But there are other
Mm.
arms of wealth. There's a relational part of things that we talk about. There's rest and sleep, absolutely. And in fact, I would say there was another amazing woman physician who joined my community about, I want to say, 4 months ago. And she was like, I'm ready. This is the only weak spot in my life is finances. She was ready to like grind, like, like physician. She was ready to like attack. And she comes in. The first thing is, she had conversations with her advisor that she had been avoiding for months and months. Literally within a month, she had the conversation.
Like her financial advisor?
Huh?
Gotcha.
She
Mm,
decided that actually,
mhm.
now that I know what and I have a community of women guiding me, this person's actually a douchebag. Because,
Oof.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
like,
You gotta be careful, like, it's not safe out there. It's not safe out there, listen.
and we tolerate nonsense because we're so
Mhm.
afraid. And
Yeah.
so, literally within a month, she actually separated from her financial advisor. But what
Mm.
I wanted to talk about more, though, was like part of my coaching for her was like, you need rest. The deeper,
Mm.
and I tell women physicians this because many of my women are not only doing one thing, they're diversifying their income, they're leaders in their community, they're leaders at
Mhm.
work. So, the higher the mountain you're called to climb, the deeper your rest has to be.
Because rest is a whole business strategy, isn't it?
It's everything. It's everything.
So that takes me to my next question. Let's talk about sabbaticals. Now, I saw you. It didn't escape me, and social media didn't escape me. I see you gallivanting all over the world for a whole year. How can a busy, burnt out physician even begin to imagine or picture time off without the panic of lost income?
And that's one that I wish every physician could just know. And um and this is part of why it's important to take care of the money thing early
Mm,
before it becomes critical.
yeah.
And I did not plan to take a sabbatical. And I call it a sabbatical because it's the easiest thing to call it. But literally, what I did is
Mhm.
I quit my job. My husband descaled his job, and we took our kids out of school and we traveled around the world. That's what it was. So it wasn't like a formal sabbatical, like you ask your hospital for time off or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And I did not, it was never on
They
my,
don't give that, do they?
some people,
I don't know many hospitals do
not a
that,
lot of
honestly.
hospitals do, but there are ways.
Right.
I actually have, I think I have two clients actually that are currently on, two clients slash alum that are currently on a sabbatical right now.
Oh,
And they're both primary care doctors. So for the primary care doctors listening to this that are like, oh, it's not going to be possible, it is possible. But what I realized was that this was not a dream list for me. Literally 6 months before, I had the idea and we're like, let's do it. And we did it.
wow.
But what made it easier? was because we had invested in assets. So our net worth was healthy. So the
Mhm.
thought of, oh my goodness, am I risking my future financial security was not a concern because we have assets, right? But one of the things that I tell people is yes, I took a year off, which went to 20 countries with our kids, literally life changing. You don't have to take a year off, even
Yeah.
3 months. I did a
Mhm.
survey, I was speaking at an event, did a survey of women asking how long they've taken from clinical medicine. Most of them said 1 week. That's not
Mhm.
enough time to rest or recover. You need, at the very minimum, 1 month before you start to feel like you can feel your own pulse as a physician, right? And so I want us to start normalizing that conversation of like, can I take 3 months off and just like pause and just breathe
Mhm.
and relax and find out who I am beyond the white coat? And in order to do that, you have to learn how to take the income you were earning and manage it in a way that aligns with that goal. So if you want to take a sabbatical, for example, how much would it cost? How much do you want? Right? How much do you want to spend? And you can create a map for how that can start to come out of your income. And part of the challenge people have is they're like, well, if I do that, my income is not going to be enough for my family. And it will be. The reason why you don't think your income is enough is because you're not in love with the goal enough. If you're in love with the goal, like your income is doing the thing that is the most important goal to you. And if your important goal is to live like for everybody to be people pleasing and think you're living the life when you actually are empty inside, that's the goal you're working towards, right? But if you're like, I really want to take a sabbatical, then map that out and let your spending align with your goal. And not just the external goal, but like the goal that you actually want deep inside, like what your soul needs. Align your spending with what your soul needs, and you'll never have to
Mhm.
cut your budget ever again.
Mm. Okay, so someone's listening right now on their commute, and maybe they only have 15 minutes tonight. After rounds, after call, what would be their first step towards financial liberation?
The first thing I would say is just ask yourself, where's my money currently going? Where
Okay.
is my money currently going? No judgment, no shame,
Mhm.
just curious. And as physicians and healthcare professionals, you guys understand when we talk about the SOAP note, the SOAP format, like subjective,
Yes.
objective, assessment.
Assessment plan, yes.
And I tell people that you want to be in your assessment and plan mindset,
Okay,
not in your
okay.
subjective or all that. It gets emotionally bugged, like just bogged down. When I
Mhm,
ask you about a patient, you tell me
mhm,
that's where you want to be when you're
mhm,
answering that question of where is your money going, because you take out judgment in there. You're like, what's the plan? What's the problem? Let's fix it. And I will tell you that many of my clients will find money that they're leaking, like gym membership at 3 different gyms, what they signed up for 6 years ago that they're not using, the whole life insurance that may not be appropriate for them, and that costs many
mm,
physicians multiple four figures a month. There are people that whole life is good for. Most
mhm.
physicians not.
Not yet, right?
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So literally that can be like $3,000 right there per month that you were
Mhm,
leaking, that was causing the strain. So it's not that what you're earning is not enough. It's that where it's going is not aligning with what your goals are. So that's the number one, is like
mm,
cut the crap first. The number two thing I want to ask is negotiation. It would be wrong for me
mhm,
to address people and not talk about negotiation. Most people are underpaid. And yes, I
mm.
know like no one in your family has earned 300,000, $250,000
Be grateful,
for
you should be grateful.
all, you're greedy, all of that stuff. But I'm telling you that by
Gold
default,
digger.
go be there. You should be happy. You're discontent. You love money too much. Most
Mhm,
physicians, most women physicians are actually underpaid. And that's something that I go for, because I literally would have clients of mine that are negotiating and getting like $100,000 more per year for the work
come
they
on.
were doing, $80,000 more per year for the work they were doing, or same income but cutting down by like 1 day off per week. So you
Mhm,
have to negotiate. And in fact, there was a physician who that happened to recently. Within, I want to say, within 2 months in our program, she negotiated and was able to get like $120,000 more. And I'm like, if all you do is just invest that delta, like your financial freedom is like right next door, like literally. So, yes, cut the fluff that is not in line with your goals, but also we have to make sure we increase the ceiling. And that works for whether you're employed or even if you own your own practice. for so many women physicians, we're so kind-hearted. We undercharge for what we do. We
Mhm.
undercharge, we're leaking money. So those are like, so don't just think about what you're leaking only. I want you to think about what you're not making, especially when it comes to earning as of women. Women physicians were very notorious for that. So that's number two thing that I would say. Look at where you're leaking money, negotiate, it's uncomfortable, but place yourself in communities where you under earning just like makes everybody twitch and you will start negotiating like quickly. And then the last but not the least is what I call it pay yourself first. But one of my clients a couple years ago, I was trying to explain this to her, and he finally clicked, and she's like, "Oh, you mean pay your ASS first?" I was like, "Exactly. Like pay your future self first, right?" And the way you pay your future self is by investing.
Yeah.
And many people are afraid of investing because they're like, "Well, if I invest, I'm not going to have a lot of cash to see." But I tell people that there's something called like cash addiction, where you're so
Mhm.
addicted to cash that you're willing to miss out on assets because you're loving your pennies, right? And it's a poverty
Mm.
mindset thing. And I'm saying it's poverty mindset intentionally, although I do know that some people it's out of like history of like real trauma
Oh,
or
yeah.
poverty in the past,
Scarcity. Yeah.
scarcity, like all of that.
Mhm.
But I'm still going to call it poverty mindset for whatever all the reasons are. Because if you're poverty mindset, that you're gonna love your cash, you're gonna sleep under your pillow like, oh my goodness, cash is feeling my face. But I want you to love assets. And I say like
Yes.
badasses love assets. So my goal is to get women to love assets. And when we do that, literally they grow their numbers, their net worth grows, their freedom is around the corner, and they just live a better life in general.
Mm. I know you've got an amazing upcoming event that is going to be super powerful for women physicians. Can you break it down? What's happening? Who's it for? And why should listeners be there?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, they get to hang out with you and see you in
Ah!
person, which is a huge treat. I would say that so this is an event that's happening in San Diego, California, September 19th to 21st. It's for women physicians, dentists, and because of your people, if you're a pharmacist, you can DM me and say Dr. Rachel sent me, and we'll see how. But those are the three people that we will let in the room for multiple reasons. But one thing that I've noticed is that there's something about learning virtually, but it's
Mm,
just different
okay.
from being in person. In person
Yes.
accelerates your journey. In person, it's like it transforms you to the very depths of your being, honestly, that you do things that you thought was going to take you a year, you could literally get it done like within a month after being in person. And I've had people tell me this over and over again that there's something about the kind of environment that I create. I serve diverse women physicians in our community. We have black, white, Asian, brown, all the colors, which I believe that's what it should look like. And so
Yes.
when you come into a room where women there are just like you in many ways. They understand the unspoken stress, the unspoken pressure, the limiting belief, the cultural expectation, because many of them are first generational wealth builders.
Yeah.
It just does things to them, and the conversations that are happening, even in between the sessions, that so many people are like, Latifah, thank you for holding the space. Thank you for doing this. And I believe that more women physicians need that kind of like space for their money, for their mindset to change their money story. And one of the things I'm going to be rolling out this year is a complete life freedom. Again, everything
Mm,
that I do is with freedom in mind, it's with
yes.
burnout in mind, and financial freedom we talk a lot about, but there are other freedom that I believe that all women physicians need all of this in order to embody the freedom that we actually want. So it's not just money, it's not just wealth, it's not just financial freedom, it's total life freedom. And that's what I think it's
Mm.
going to be.
Where can listeners find you and dive into MoneyFitMD?
They can find me if they want to learn specifically about the event. Go to moneyfitmd.com. You will have the information for the event, the programs we run. But if you're watching this on YouTube or on a podcast platform, just search for Money Fit MD. It's the easiest way. We have 300 episodes or so now where you literally can learn. And what I love the most about this podcast that we offer is I get messages for people that are like, just listen to the podcast does something for me, Latifat. And it's my
Mm.
gift because I truly want women to be well. I want women physicians to be well. So go ahead, listen to the podcast. You can find the books on Amazon. But the most important thing is do something. something, anything. Don't listen to this and go back to life as usual. Do something and let the change starts to happen.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being such a blessing to our community. Guys, don't let yourself settle for burnout. Okay. You can build wealth, you can buy back your time, and create a life that looks as good as it feels. Dr. Latifat, thank you so much. We're going to add all of your contact information in the show notes. I'm Dr. Rachel Gainsborough, and this has been the Luxury Rented Doctor Show. Until next time, let's keep turning those paychecks into freedom.